start recording live. Yeah, so we're recording now. So yeah, so if yeah, I would like to be a monkey. I think monkeys look happier than we are. We used to be monkeys at some point, and they still deal with the stuff that they're wired to deal with, whereas we are ancient creatures that have to deal with technology and the 21st century, living in society, living in groups of billions of people now, when we're really designed to live in groups of hundreds, tens of people, tens, hundreds of people at most. And I think it's
You
hard to
know,
be happy.
you just brought up a very interesting topic without even noticing. Let me tell
But
you what it is.
Habibi, talking to you is always interesting. It doesn't really matter what I say. So
Thank you. Thank you. So you said we come from monkeys or apes or whatever, right?
that's right.
And I I think there is a huge
Let me just
set
stop you.
of people.
I'm just gonna ask a question. Can you hear me okay? Because if not, I have to change this.
Yeah,
Okay, good. All right,
I
go.
can hear you fine. Yeah,
Okay, good.
the sound is a little weird, but you sound fine.
The sun. Yeah.
The the
I'll try
the,
to figure it
the
out. But go
sun on
ahead.
your
Yeah, let me.
yeah. No, that's fine. It's fine with me. Okay. Um. So yeah, like we talked a lot, especially these days, about follow the science, the science, the science, right? But
Mhm.
then there is a huge chunk of people, I don't know the number, but I can bet there is, who do not believe that we came from apes because they have a religious belief, right? That we didn't.
Okay.
Um, and not just in the US, like in other countries too, especially the religious countries, they know like, nope, this is where I come from. So when we say believe in science, but then whenever it's not convenient or whenever it's difficult to digest, then we don't believe in science. Then we be like, nope, that's science didn't get this right. So that is a problem that in this time of day, in these times we live in, that um, we don't have a clear understanding of, this is science and we have to believe in it. Otherwise, we're not rational anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Or, yeah, just pick and choose whatever you want to believe in
It
because
it
could be wrong and everything could be wrong. And well, the whole reality could be not what you think it is, whatever. Those are two extremes, of course.
okay.
So I think it's interesting.
Yeah, no, for sure. I was actually looking like the last part. I was a little bit distracted because your girlfriend was trying not to appear on camera, so she was doing like
Yeah,
some contortionist,
I,
So I was looking at her.
I, yeah, that's fine. I just changed my background now to virtual, so no more distractions.
Yeah, that's okay. So yeah, for sure. So what do you think about that? What do you think about those people that don't believe in science when it comes to things like that? I mean, those are fundamental concepts, right? Darwin is not really. I mean, Darwin's basic stuff. Evolution's basic stuff, but there are people that don't believe in that stuff, that basic stuff.
Yeah. Um, what I believe is that it depends what has more weight on you. What affects you more? Your religion, your faith, your religious beliefs, or your belief in science, your how do I say that? Your how serious you are about science. About taking science as the truth. And for some people, they're so religious that they cannot accept anything that conflicts with that. So that's those are those people. And others would say, no, I am, I believe, I have faith, but just, I believe God exists, let's say, but no, I believe in science, and science cannot prove or disprove, so I can still believe God exists, but at the same time, I believe in science and whatever science say, and evolution and all of that. And I think to say, how many people kind of go this way or that way, it's just a matter of how many people are in the world are religious enough, to ignore science when it really conflicts with the religious beliefs, and to believe in science. And how many people are in the world are religious enough to ignore science when it really conflicts with the religious beliefs. And to believe in science when it really conflicts with the religious beliefs. And to ignore science when it really conflicts with the religious beliefs. and just stick with their beliefs. So, and this number is not a small number for sure.
Okay, so that yeah, we can talk about that. That's a very interesting conversation to have.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk to you about this. Sorry, just one more point.
Of course,
What is also
we have
interesting.
time. You can talk as much as you want.
Thanks, man. I hate to interrupt, but just want to squeeze in one more point since you're
Of course,
kind of thinking about the segment there. So we can discuss science from another perspective. Okay, not necessarily the religious versus science perspective. We can discuss it from in this century we live in this 2020, technology, age of everything can be experimented with and studied, etc., etc. Science is becoming both a serious, effective tool for us to know what's true and what's not, but at the same time, it has its disadvantages. It has its weaknesses. Okay, and the weaknesses is that it's guided by humans who have agendas potentially, or have certain goals that they want to achieve. So if the science doesn't always match what their goal is, I'm not saying they will make it look like the opposite and all will be good, but they will tweak it a little bit. Okay, they will make it sound at least that it does fit their goal. And that's the story that they would tell people about it, right? Now, still science is a powerful tool that we have to know what's true and what's not, and still it has a standard and mechanism of scientific papers, peer-reviewed, et cetera, right? But imagine a scientific paper where somebody is trying to prove that, let's say, just a random example, let's say sugar is not really too bad for you, okay? So they will make experiments and they will try to list certain studies and the parts of this study that don't really make sugar look too bad and make it look like there's other factors that affected this, but those ones who worked out, did some workout, let's say every day, then sugar didn't affect them. So sugar is not bad, it's the workout that's bad if you don't do it. I'm just thinking of something on the fly, but that's a quick example of how you can look at science from a specific angle and make it look, in a just a slightly different way than what it really is. My point is, with that said, how can people really truly believe science on face value? And if they can't, then it's hard to remove the noise from the absolute truth, the actual, objective results of of science.
Yeah, no, that's certainly a good point. When I talk and we're in this view, do you see my image, or do you see your own image?
I can change how I see me and you. Like now I have it where I'm at the top and you have the full screen. But from the view from the top, I can change it to gallery view where I see them one on the left, one on the right. So no, it's up to you.
It's okay. I just we'll do this test when we're. I can just like test this when we're not actually doing a real podcast. Because for me, it appears a little bit weird. But so I'll just keep it like that, so that I see both of us.
Okay, I can just tell you from YouTube. I can see the full screen, like whoever's speaking, full screen on YouTube. Oh no, never mind. Now it's actually 2 sections. Yeah, I don't know exactly.
Yeah, because I'm kind of like playing around with it. So I don't know. I'm playing around with it. So we can experiment, I guess. But yeah. So how is there a way for, in your opinion, is there a way for us to make sure that science becomes more trustworthy, that people can believe, well, when science does this, when science says this, you can take it for at face value, or there can be more of a guarantee. There can be more of a guarantee of it. What do you think? Like how? Why are we having this problem? Why are we having this problem with science, that people don't believe in science? What do you think the source of that is?
I mean, one factor is what I mentioned before, is that the scientists, or maybe the people who are leading that scientific or scientist group or whatever. I don't know how it really works, but people themselves, sometimes they are, their mission and their goals and their agenda sometimes doesn't fit really with the results of the science, and that's why they try to tweak it in a way that does. And I'm not saying everybody does it. I'm not saying the majority does it. I don't know. Maybe 1% of the scientists do it, you know? So I think this is at the core of the problem, is that humans who are fueled with emotions and feelings and agenda and greed and power and et cetera, and this need to be successful, to be in the spotlight, for most, you get a grant to prove that something is what it is, but then you are surprised with something else, then you don't want people to see like, you failed or whatever, and you change it. And there's all of those feelings there. And I think that's at the core of the problem. Now, how can we solve this is what's also interesting to me.
Because that's
how can we make
this is actually, you brought up this question, and I mean, this question is fundamental, right? It's fundamental for the 21st century. It's fundamental for our society right now, because it seems that a lot of the problems is that people are just there are some facts that we should all start from those facts, but in fact people are starting from different facts, right? Some people just have the wrong facts, right? And I have no problem with people having different opinions. The problem is when people have, they start from a wrong place, right? If you start from a place, let's say with religion, not that all religion is bad, but basically if you deny science just because you're religious, right? If you deny all the progress, like Darwin, if you deny, okay, so this doesn't really fit with my idea, so let's just deny Darwin. And then you, like, every conversation that you have, we're just going to ignore Darwin. We're going to ignore all the things that were built on top of Darwin and our understanding of our species that comes from that. Like, there's no conversation to be had, right? Because we're talking about, there's no structure, the foundation is flawed, right? So you can't have a serious conversation if you're denying basic facts, right? So that's the problem. It's not having different opinions and trying to figure out things. The problem is when people have just basically different facts. And that's a real problem, because you can go nowhere from there.
Yeah. So I think one fact differs from another. Okay. If we're talking, let's say, something fundamental like evolution, where it's being studied by many scientists and there's books about it and there's all the different details that you need, is different than from a fact that I say, what I was going, something like not too extreme. For example, that there was no fraud in the election.
Yeah,
this is not a fact.
Yeah, there is a difference. Yeah, there's definitely a difference. Yeah.
Yeah. So we said we need to separate those. We need to look at like the scientific facts, and we should make it in a way that almost all people, virtually all people, should have no doubt and be able to believe and take everything that comes from the scientific community. Everything that comes, that's studied, experimented, peer-reviewed, and published. We need to believe those.
For example, that the Earth is round. That's another one that it didn't used to be a controversy, but now in some weird fashion, it has become a controversy for some really stupid people. But I mean, there are people that are not accepting that fact that the world is round, stuff like that, like fundamental stuff. that
But like, how do you make those people believe that? Like, what does it take for the like? If I ask one of them, the leader of this group, say, hey, listen, man or woman, uh, what do you need to believe that the Earth is not round? What does it take? If he tells me like, if I tell him like, look, there's a science experiment done 500, 500 different things, and he's like, I don't believe in science, that's the end of the conversation, right? Because there's nothing that is concrete that will make him believe in that, other than maybe him standing outside of the world and maybe potentially believing in that, and just driving in a spaceship around the Earth or whatever. Um, if he says, yeah, I do believe in science, then we'll have to know, like, okay, you believe in science, this is what science says. Do you think science is fake? Then what does it take? Is it like, do you need like 100% of scientists to say, to prove to you that Earth is round? If like there's one scientist who doesn't say so, then you don't? Like, what does it take? And it's good to know what is expected and how we can improve on this scientific standards to be able to have everyone believe in that.
yeah, there should be. I don't know why you say to those people. I don't know. Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean, I don't know what they need in order to believe those like basic facts. Because yeah, I mean, I don't know what motivates someone necessarily to just believe that okay, all the scientists, all the scientific community, they're lying. You know, I don't know, because it obviously makes no sense. But I I don't know how you
Yeah.
overcome this generalized distrust in the scientific community. I I don't know. I mean, that's an important question, but I just like right now I can't think of
Maybe,
anything that.
yeah, maybe we can fix it. There are two ways we can fix that. And there is a better way and there is a worse way. Okay. The worst way, the not as effective way, is to make the science as trustworthy as possible. Okay. Make everything whatever, maybe increase the peer reviews, whatever you can do to make it more trustworthy. This is not a good way. The better way is to try to find a pattern between the people who believe in uh, ridiculous things like the earth is not round, the earth is flat, and but the pattern between the people who don't. So, and see what is the difference. If we see that the people who believe in such things are, let's say, low IQ, or they tend to have a distrust in the government, so they push that on the scientific community, or they live in a country where there's a lot of lies, whatever it is, whatever that pattern is, we can identify that, and then we can fix it from that perspective. I think that's a better way.
Yeah, I agree, and maybe education should play a key part in that. I don't know how exactly, but it seems that a lot of those people that have some serious trouble understanding basic facts, it comes from a problem in education, really. That the education system is flawed in some of those places. You know, just the education, the basic education that they are receiving, and education is school, but it's not just school. It's also the education that you get from your parents at home, from society in general. But look, I mean, if someone goes to a school where the teachers are not allowed to say that evolution is a reality, that there are two
Mm.
interpretations of the same thing, that, yeah, maybe we do come from Adam and Eve and not monkeys. So that is already confusing, because wait, is it one or is it the other? Because both of them cannot be true at the same time, right? So if you leave that in the hands of a kid to decide, then that's not a very good foundation, right? It's essentially like saying to a kid, well, we can say that 2 plus 2 is 4, and we're going to work with this, for math exercises, or we can say that 2 + 2 is maybe 5, you know, and maybe this is true. This would be extremely confusing, right, in a math class.
Yeah.
And the other thing is very confusing in a biology class, right? Because it's a very fundamental aspect of biology, just like the other one is a very fundamental aspect of math. So that you get that at school, and then imagine the kid goes to church every Sunday, and the priest or the pastor says that we don't come from monkeys or apes, you know, or primates, but we in fact come from Adam and Eve, you know, the whole biblical interpretation of things. So that's another source that makes you confused. And then society at large uh, continues to reinforce this information. And then, you know, you watch the television, and the channels you watch or the music you listen to or the YouTube channels that are fed to you, they reinforce that even more. And then the source of information is a problem, you know, because you're just not getting the information that you should be getting. um and the same thing with the earth is round. I wouldn't know the earth is round unless I was taught that, you know. We know that the earth is round because we studied science in school. You know, you studied more than I have probably, but you know, we both studied enough science that we know that, you know, the earth is round. And we just can't learn anything if there is complete mistrust in the educational system and in the sources that we are given, and if there are alternative sources that are giving the same weight at times, alternative sources that might be misleading. So education really should be, I mean, I guess that is one of the ways that we can fix it, you know. There are foundational educational problems that could be fixed, and that should be fixed if we are going to achieve the best that we can achieve for our species, for the human race.
Yeah.
It's uncertain what's going to happen, but I think yeah, fortunately we've been walking towards the path of enlightenment and science and understanding of the mysteries of the universe. But especially now with all the power that we acquire with technology and science and industry, we need to have some understanding of like facts, you know, like environmental degradation, for example, because we have so much power that we have more responsibility as well. So
Yeah. Totally.
yeah, so
It's tough, man. It's tough. The more information is out there, the harder it is to stick with one version of the truth, of one opinion or whatever. Um, and then because with the information comes also other type of information that will make you doubt the important information, right? Um, yeah, I mean, now we are in an age where you can hear everything, you can see everything, and if you see a case where somebody uh, shared a fake news, whatever, then every time you're gonna see news, you're gonna be like, well, is that fake news or is that not fake news, right?
I think that's why critical thinking is perhaps a very important skill now that wasn't quite as crucial before, but now it has become absolutely fundamental because we need to develop a powerful filter because we get information from so many sources. And now, you know, we get information from YouTube. I mean, anyone can post something on YouTube. Anyone can post something on Facebook, you know. Even the news as it is right now, the media, it's like, you know, it's like the Wild West. You know, you can get any sort of facts from the media, you know, depending on which channel you log on to, you know. I mean, so
Yeah.
we need to develop like a really strong filter that before wasn't quite as necessary, but now we really need that filter, because if not, we'll believe that, you know, the earth is flat. that's the sort of thing that we might believe if we listen to
Yeah,
someone on YouTube saying that, right?
right. But critical thinking alone is not enough. If we get information from somewhere, let's say some news broke that 1, 2, 3 happened, my critical thinking will tell me, well, wait a second, I don't know if this is true or not. You know, this sounds like maybe it's not, maybe it's too hard to believe or whatever, right? I can think like this, but critical thinking will make me doubt in the places where I should doubt, but it doesn't tell me the actual truth, right?
Yeah,
So
I mean, for sure.
for,
Yeah.
for me to know the actual truth, I need the other side who is saying those things to have a clear kind of evidence-based, scientific-based kind of approach to why they come up with this statement.
Well, we need a combination, and you're absolutely right. We need a combination of critical thinking and also a good foundation, a good educational foundation, right? Because yeah, you're right. I mean, you do need to have those building blocks. You need to have
Yeah,
information. You need to know when someone is like saying bullshit, you need to know, okay, there's at least a couple things there that are obviously wrong, and you need some information to do that.
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, well, that's a good
What else,
start.
man? What else do you have on your mind? Yeah, it is.
So, well, this is an example of how complicated society has gotten. This is an example of how complicated society. Yes, just you are one of the people that, like you, what's in my mind today is how do you live a good life? What are the ways that, like, what is the key to living a good life? And you are a very enlightened person, because I can see that you know how to live a good life, and it's a very difficult skill to have. So how with all the difficulties of modern life and being a grown up and living in a world with 7 billion people and social media and technology and economic crisis and so on, so forth. I mean, so what's the trick, Mario? Like what are we looking at to live a good life?
I mean,
What does a good life look like for us?
this is a tough question. It's not an easy question, right?
It's a very difficult question.
I can tell you.
We're not going to
Yeah,
talk about easy questions today. We're just going to talk about very difficult questions.
good, good. That's what I like. I can tell you what I think makes a good life. I can tell you what makes me happy generally. And maybe, this will bring up some thoughts and ideas that we can discuss.
Absolutely.
So when we say, so there are two parts to this question, okay? There is good, being good person, and there is by good life meaning like happy. You're happy, satisfied, content, everything is going well for you. Well, not everything is going well, but you are always feeling good. Okay, most of the time feeling good about life. And so those are two different questions, right? The good part of it, when I say I want to live a good life, meaning I want to be a good person. Okay, what does that mean? And this is something I even discussed with other friends of mine and kind of brought some thoughts into it. I think if we want to have the short answer, maybe you can write a book about this. But if you have a short answer of what does being good mean, for me, it all boils down to maybe not. I'm sure you can find cases where this is not true, but at the core of it is your intention. If you have positive intentions that are good for yourself and others, and by good we mean it will make you live a more enjoyable, comfortable life for you, bring wellness to others, wellness, mental, physical, etc. Then if your intentions are positive that way, then you're a good person. Okay, I think it boils down to that. There are other factors, there are other things we can consider, definitely. But now, what makes you happy is, I think it goes back to you of knowing that you can control and only use and bring the positive thoughts to your mind and see the world in an angle that looks good rather than in an angle that looks bad. Okay? So this sounds like a bit of, living out of this world. Like, hey, this is reality. It's in front of you. Look at this, look at this, look at this. Yeah. How can I not look at those and look at something else? Definitely. I'm not naive enough to say the world is a perfect place. So those are kind of one or two thoughts from each side. Now, to answer your question, like how do you live a good life? I think being a good person, which will allow you to sleep well at night, which will allow you to feel that you are not a burden on society, you're not you don't cause harm, and you don't cause misery. You're just somebody who's bringing positive difference to this world, and that will make you feel good. And the second part of it is how to live a good life is you being generally a happy person. Okay, and how do you do that if everything around you maybe is messed up? Well, from one side, you focus on what you can do, what I can do to make a difference. The things that I cannot control, just out of my control, put them on a different shelf. They're on this side. I won't let them bring me down. I don't let them affect me negatively because I can't control them. The things that I can control, I have to do my best to make a positive difference in those. Okay? So if I feel like I am doing progress in those, whatever percentage, small, big, whatever, doesn't matter, right? I am making progress on those that I can change to make a positive difference. And the second is what I told you before, is that for me to look at the world from a positive lens. Okay? If something bad happened to me, I can say, depends on the case, but I can say in general, like, oh, well, it could be worse. Okay, that's a general statement people say. Or I could say like, well, I'm so grateful for those many, many other things I have. Not too many people have them. So this bad thing happened to me, it's fine. Or I can say that I cannot take anything positive for granted in this world. Anything positive I get is a blessing, is a bonus, so I need to be grateful for it. The default is a chaos, a mess in this world, me walking and falling somewhere. If I don't fall when I'm walking, that's amazing, that's a miracle. I'm going to be grateful for that. So having this perspective and also taking the time to take care of yourself mentally and physically, I think will make you feel good. At least for me, that's generally how I think and what I try to do. I'm not saying I'm always, flying in positivity. There's times where I feel like, I could do better. There's something I'm not doing, or I have a lot of potential, but instead I'm just watching TV, whatever. I feel like this, but then I either attribute this to like, some other cause happening in my life, and I say, well, this is why this is happening, and I try my best, but it's tough. Or I say, well, yes, let me start making a plan. 1, 2, 3. What I want to do, And as long as I'm thinking like this, I feel good about it. So here you go. I said a lot of different things, but this is kind of my thoughts around that.
No, it's very interesting. So do you think those two things that you said, are they related? Being a good person and living a happy life. Do you are those just separate things, or is that what you meant, that they're separate, or did you mean that they're related?
I think they overlap, but there is more to the first that doesn't overlap with the second, and vice versa.
Okay.
You know, there is definitely an overlap there.
Okay. So there's an overlap, but
Because
it's
being,
also they're two different things.
yeah, because doing good, okay, will make you feel good about yourself and will make you see the world in a slightly better version, that, you know, that you are helping, you are doing good, the world is getting better, etc. Or people around you is getting better, etc. Right? So there is this overlap. Now there's other things that for you to be a happy person that has nothing to do with doing good, and there is things that for doing good that has nothing to do with being a happy person. Yeah.
Do you think that you can be good to other people if you feel shitty about yourself? Is that possible, or what do you think about that? Like people that are miserable about their own lives, is it possible, if you're miserable about your own life, is it possible for you to really have a positive impact in other people's lives? What do you
I'm not the right person to ask because I'm not a miserable person
Yeah, that's
to
true.
tell you from
Yeah,
experience.
and it's
But
interesting talking about this with you because I know that you're not, and
but
it's a
yeah, but I'll
skill.
try to answer it. Yeah, I'll try to answer it from a educated guess, I guess, or theory. Um, I would say when a person is miserable, it's affecting them in several different ways, mentally and others. Could be emotionally as well, physically, possibly. You know, if somebody is miserable, they're not focused on progress. They're not focused on their potential, the good things. They're just down, okay, mentally and physically. And when you're down, then yes, it's not just going to affect how much good you do in the world. It's also going to affect any action you take in your life, right? It's also going to affect, how happy you can be, and all of those I think are somehow connected to each other. You know, how happy you are with how you can help people, with how you're feeling and what you're doing, and what's your relationship with your friends in your community, etc. So I would say yes, it definitely makes it harder if you're a miserable person, if you feel like you're a shitty person, to be able to make a difference, positive difference in the world. Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. I think that being miserable or just feeling sorry for yourself, I think it's very hard to get out of that mode and actually try to help other people, to be positive for other people, because you're just bringing other people negativity when you can't get rid of that yourself. I feel like, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested, the early philosophers like, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, their biggest focus really was, it was really ethics and the pursuit of a good life. And I more than any other thing, I think I feel seduced by that, by that aspect of the philosophical pursuit. And
Mm.
maybe we should talk more about those things, and it's especially it's very, and look, you told me about Harari, so that he became really one of my favorite writers. So I'm grateful for that, because he really talks about, he gives you, it's interesting because he gives you a vision of humankind, and it's hard to get lost in the present, just thinking about the present and how things are now. But really, I mean, our story is a story that spans hundreds of thousands of years. And even just recorded history, it's just a couple thousand years, or 5,000 years at most. But our history is much longer than that, hundreds of thousands of, at least tens of thousands of years, depending on what you define as what's a human, but we're talking about at least tens of thousands of years. And yeah, it's very difficult because like he talks about how difficult it is for people to live in societies that are as large as our societies, because it's a very weird thing. Like now that we're connected, especially, it's not 7 billion people that are connected, but I mean almost, like the way things are connected, everything is interacting with everything. And now with social media and mass media, really you have exposure to the whole world. And initially we were living in tribes of 10 people, 50 people, 100 people. That was,
Yeah.
we were designed to live in those situations. And now it's very difficult to deal with society because it's become so big and complex, and there are so many choices, to live your life. So I think it's a wonder, like how people like you can maintain that positivity and like take it all in. Like people like myself, I think, I struggle a lot with all the options that are provided to us in life, and all the thing, like all the information that comes at you at one time. It's a little bit overwhelming. I think probably other people feel the same way, but I feel that there's a potential for being overwhelmed with so many things and so many options, so many choices.
Yeah.
How do you deal with so many choices? That's another thing that I think the human being deals with in the 21st century. That is not easy, because we are really, and there have been several studies about this. People are happier when they have fewer choices, but now everything, we have so many choices. There are so many choices in life right now that it's so complex. And
Yeah.
obviously, whatever you choose, the tendency of the human brain is to think about the things that you didn't choose. So you're unhappy with whatever you chose.
Okay, so there are two things there. Let me address the second one. The tendency for the human brain to think about the other choices, just in general, a tendency of human brain, and this is where meditation come in. If you're not a generally person who can control your thoughts, then meditation will help with that.
Do you meditation, Mario?
On and off, I do. Yeah, not every day. I don't.
Maybe that's something I should pursue. Harari talks about that.
Yeah, Sam Harris is really good in that. There are others, Headspace, many other apps you can use to meditate. But yeah, specifically mindfulness meditation. And there are many other types of meditation. Mindfulness where you can practice to just breathe and rest your brain from all the different thoughts that come in and out. And eventually you'll be able to control your thoughts. If a thought come in and I decide don't want to pursue that thought, don't want to have a follow-up for it, I'll just stop it right there and just not think of anything or go another thought, And I think this is key for us in a stressful society like this, where there's so many choices, where there's so many different opinions and perspectives and emotions and all of that. Having a brain that you can control your thoughts that's going through in it is really amazing. And now we're going slightly different topic, but a good example on that I saw is like, imagine you are in a car and you jump in a car, whatever, taxi, let's say, and you go drive on this road. The taxi driver will drive, and then he will stop you, and you'll go down because you found another car, and then you go another car, and you go different direction, you go that direction. You're just from one car to another. You're going on that highway, and being dropped off and picked up by random people, right? This is our brain now. This is how we operate now. We have a thought, and the thought brings another thought, and this thought makes me think of something I did yesterday, and that will make me feel something. And It just like goes all over the way, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we're
With
always connected,
meditation,
and we're always connected. You know, there's always activity.
yeah, with the key I'm gonna say here, the punchline is that with meditation, this example I heard is that in meditation, once you practice that, then you'll be that person who's sitting on the sidewalk, sitting somewhere on the side, and watching all those cars go by, and then you're just watching your thoughts how they go, and you just decide, well, this is an interesting, this I like this car, I think it's good for me. You'll go jump in this car, and then you say, okay, stop here. You'll go down, and then you sit outside. Being able to observe your thoughts and make a decision on what to control and what to stop and what to continue is actually a very powerful mechanism.
And meditation
So
can
this is
really,
meditation.
meditation can really help you with that, with controlling your thoughts, controlling which thoughts you're going to pursue or stay on.
Yeah, and let me tell you why. I mean, I'm no expert on meditation. I read about it and I heard about it and I did it myself, but that doesn't make me an expert. But I think the way it works is that once you do mindfulness meditation, which is trying to relax your brain, don't follow your thoughts. So you're practicing controlling your thoughts by not allowing them to take you from one place to another and calm your brain down. This exercise is helping you, control your thoughts in the future whenever you're in a real life situation, right? So now, for example, something bad happens to me. Let's say somebody spills something on me, or somebody cuts me off in the highway, or somebody does something really mean or whatever, right? In a split second, I'm gonna be angry. I'm gonna be mad, right? And happy, like the first thing comes in my mind, comes in myself, right? Which is a normal human behavior, okay? But once you're really into meditation and know how to control your thoughts, it's not gonna take more than a second or 2 seconds to be able to say, I'm angry. No, I'm not angry. It's fine. It's all good. I'm gonna be happy about this. Whatever. Be able to control that anger that you got and within a second. Imagine, like now, there are people who can stay angry for hours or the whole day. To have the power to decide not to be angry within a second is so powerful. Sad, same thing. Something happened to me that made me sad. I can think about it that does not make me sad. And there is a big example actually that happened in my life where it's so sad to think about it. But I'm glad that I was able to not to be sad and down because of that.
So yeah, I mean that's yeah, obviously that's I mean that's extremely powerful if you can control that. I mean you're yeah, I should definitely pursue some form of meditation. Do you think modern life modern life is conducive? And for you, I don't know, because you have the superpower of being always happy, always positive. So it's, I don't know if for you it's easy to, but do you think modern life is conducive to people being happy? The life we lead today, you know, to not,
Conducive meaning,
if
let me see, conducively.
well, I mean, let me
Oh,
put,
make it likely or possible. Okay.
yeah, I mean, let me put it a different way. So do you think it's easy to be happy in the society that we have the tools to be happy, um, in comparison to before, to the way it was before? I mean, the world now looks very different than it was, 20 years ago. It looks very different than it was 50, 100 years ago, 1,000, obviously. And yeah, of course, I mean, obviously, life is probably now better than it was in the Middle Ages for most people, but for a number of reasons. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know if we're really, if our society is optimized to allowing people to live, good lives?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
So
I don't think so. I think we could be doing a lot better.
to live a good life, like a happy life.
Yeah, living a happy life. Yeah, and we usually
Okay.
measure right now. The way we measure things is mostly economic terms, right? Because we don't have a lot of other ways to measure it. When people talk about if things are going well, a lot of the times they talk about the GDP. I mean, the GDP is not gonna really determine, if people are living happy lives, if they're satisfied with their lives, right? Um, and then
Yeah.
you have anecdotal um, examples like Bhutan, I think it is, that they instead of measuring the GDP, they measure the happiness of people. I don't remember what it is exactly that they call it, but it's essentially the GDP but for happiness. But that's just one example. It's one country in the world. But maybe other
Mm.
countries in the world should be looking at it in a similar way. I mean, the GDP doesn't really reflect all that much other than, an economic indicator for a total economy. But it doesn't really reflect what people are experiencing and if people's lives are improving or not. Um, and yeah, so I don't know. Are people really, in general, are people really free to live their lives the way they want to live their life? You seem to do a great job, Mario. You seem to do a great job at it. Um, you seem to do very great, but I just think for most people it's kind of difficult, to basically live this life in that you have to like have these jobs that you need to have to pay your bills, and afford things for yourself, for your family. People don't really have a lot of time or money, and everything seems to be very stressful. Even before this pandemic, there's a lot of stress in people's lives. A lot of
Yeah.
things are about money. There's very little time. The time that people do have now, we've come up with some like very cool things. Like we've come up with Netflix, and we've come up with like video games, and we've come up with smartphones and smartwatches and computers and Facebook. And all of those things have value. Some of those things are pretty cool, like video games. But the thing is, the time that we do have available, the time that we do have free, and obviously that varies enormously from person to person. But my general point is, we tend to spend the time that we do have free doing things that basically just eat up our time, and I'm not really sure how conducive this whole situation is. I don't know how this whole setup is really pointing us towards, living fulfilling, happy lives.
Yeah. There's a lot there. I'll give you my thoughts here, but then I have to drop after this. So
Sure. What time do you wanna end this? In 10 minutes from now?
yeah, 10 minutes. Good.
Okay, we'll give it 15 minutes. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
250, 255. Yeah.
Okay. Um, yeah, there's a lot in there that you have mentioned. Um, I think definitely it was easier to be happy in the past when you didn't have a lot to admire and want, and a lot of different things. You just take your life the way it is uh, for the way it is, and you just deal with it like this is how you live. When you didn't see what other people have and the way they live, then there's nothing for you to compare with, and you just be like, "Yep, I'm living in a small whatever tree house, and it's good. You're happy, you know. Definitely, it was easier to be happy back then. Now, I think what caused people to be less happy in this age is globalization and the information age, where you can see and hear everything. Okay, if I am sitting on this chair, okay, and it's fine. It is what it is. It's okay, right? But then I see somebody else sitting on a chair that's like, wow, he looks so comfortable. It's like leather. It's like great, you know. In my mind, I'm gonna be like, I should strive for a better chair, you know. I wish I have this better chair.
Yeah.
I want that chair. And this is just a chair. There's so many other things in our life where we maybe subconsciously, maybe consciously think like that. Okay. And that's one way why when this is making us less happy. And at the same time, you mentioned key points around it's all about money, it's all about, you know, capitalism. So there is a lot of ways that we can be tempted to be distracted from what really is good for us and what matters to us. You know, Netflix, video games, online stuff, and all of those things that we can do that are really pushing us away from taking care of ourselves. Now, not saying video games is bad, not saying Netflix is bad, but within moderation, I think having enough time to do other things for yourself, for the world, should also be given time, right? But yeah, like you said, like everything going around you, unless you're which is very hard, but unless you're a happy person with even in the shittiest life you're in, you can still be a happy person. Then with all the stress that you're getting from the world, you have to release it somehow. And how you release it is by doing things that maybe you just want to lay down on the couch and play and check out Facebook or whatever. Like you're just releasing stress. You're distracting yourself from the real problems of the world to something else, you know. Watch TV, play video game, whatever else, because that will make us feel good, right? Unless we are happy and feel good about ourselves, we're not gonna go to a distraction that will take my entire life, and then it will be a spiral, a downward spiral that's gonna take me to a life full of distractions, and I'm not gonna do anything good in my life, you know. So the core of all of this is to know, how do I become a happy person, regardless of what's going on in my surrounding, and then know how important it is for me to make a plan, how important for me is to exercise, work on my mental, ability, mental kind of be able to be comfortable mentally. And once I get to that point, then I will realize that, no, this is bad for me. You know, okay, this is good for me. I have to make time for this. I have to make time for that. And you will be happily doing it. You know, like now I find something that I enjoy, and I sometimes can't sleep because I'm thinking about it. Like some project that I'm working on, side project, right? It's keeping me up at night. I want to wake up to just try it because I'm curious about it, because something I'm passionate about. So this is also a factor, a key where that is going to make me a happy person, is that I'm able to pursue the things that I enjoy. Now, with all that said, you can be in I was lucky to be in the right field, to be able to grow in my career, to be able to be in a comfortable place, of course. But there are people who just didn't have that kind of luck, right? Now they're like relying on stressful job that they cannot leave, working every day to make enough barely to pay the bills and all of that. Yes. So how do you be happy in this situation? And that's a really good question. The short answer is it's not easy. The hard answer is that, again, you can look at the things that you can control and work on those and do your best. And as long as you're doing your best, you should feel satisfied, and ignore the things that you can't control. And at the same time, teach yourself in any way possible to be a happy person, to be a content person, you know, to try to do the things within your reach that will make you happy, you know, and realize that the world looks tough now, but there's always hope. There's always progress. You're going to be in a better place, you know, and even if you're going to be what do you call them, a homeless person all your life, try to enjoy it. Try to enjoy whatever you do. Find the good positive things in anything you do, you know. Again, the way I started this answer is that it's not easy. It's hard. But this is the path that I see for a homeless person even, or a very stressful person to still be happy with a shitty life they're living.
Yeah, so there, yeah, that's very interesting, because there's I mean, I think there must be truth to what you're saying, because it works for you. For me, I struggle with that, but I think there's certainly, there must be truth there. So essentially, just to, I guess we have 5 minutes or so, or even less. So
Yeah.
to live a good life, you have to pursue some things that are external, but also it really matters the way you are internally. So the way that you control your thoughts, and meditation can maybe help with that. Also,
Yeah.
your outlook, on life, the way you see life. So it's a combination of factors, of essentially those two factors, those two very important factors, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it comes naturally for some people, and less naturally to other people. And we would probably need to talk about this for quite some time now. So we'll talk about it next time, maybe. But do you think it can be learned as well?
Absolutely. I think so. I mean, I don't deny the genetics part, or what, just what kind of personality you are, that maybe you cannot just change that. But I definitely think if you practice and if you learn how to be happy, you can be happier than what you are now. But again, maybe something is making it hard for you to be the same as somebody else who maybe without learning they're just a naturally happy person.
So, and what about being a good person? Can that be learned? Is that something that we can practice as well, or is it just comes with you?
I think there is two parts to being a good person. Is that you have to feel it, which cannot be learned, cannot be taught. But once you feel it, once you want to be a good person and you care, then how you'll be a good person can be learned. That makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that regarding that first part, I think in order for people to feel that, I think values are very important. What values are being taught to you in the first place? Because if you're being taught the value of, you can do, the most important thing for you is to be successful. It doesn't matter what you do to other people. Just to give an example, right? That's a value that is probably not going to be conducive to you being good to other people. But if you're taught, well, it's very important what you do to other people. You have to be correct. Yes, you're going to have to try to be successful in some way, but also you have to look out for other people. so just to give an example in the same line, that would be conducive. If you start, we're talking about a 6-year-old, right? If you're talking a 6-year-old, one or the other, one of those values is probably gonna accelerate that feeling, like you said, feel, yes, I want to be a good person. So
Yeah.
it does depend on the input a little bit. But anyways, thank you so much for the conversation, Mario. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. It's always fun.
Yeah, and we'll do this again soon. I hope you have a good day. I'm gonna stop recording now. If you watch this, thank you for watching.